Hello there. What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about Battlestar Galactica and X-Wing, and also a little bit of theory crafting on just how many expansions and continued production do our modern games need in order for us to not necessarily call them dead when they stop making stuff. There's some interesting stuff I'm going to talk about in today's video, but before I do that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. They make the most amazing tokens. I know you've heard me talking about them before. They're an amazing company that make fantastic tokens. They're the most beautiful tokens on the market, and if you really want to up your game, this is the way to do that. They're all double-sided. They come in a variety of finishes. They're absolutely beautiful. They're heavy. They feel awesome in your hand. If you didn't get what you wanted for Christmas, maybe you got some stimulus money that you just burning a hole in your pocket and you're looking for something to do, definitely check these guys out. Also, if you use code Crabbok VIP, you're going to save 15%, and on orders of $35 or more, while supplies last, you're going to get yourself a Crabbok token for free thrown in with your order with the lightsaber nunchucks on it as well. It's the most amazing token you're ever going to find. I promise you that. So, today we're talking about Battlestar Galactica and X-Wing, and because I feel like those two games had a lot of similarities, and now that Ares Games lost the license for Starship Battles, their Battlestar Galactica game, that was comparable in some ways to X-Wing in that it was a dogfighting game. Used a different system, though. It got me thinking a lot about what would happen if maybe Asmodee were to get the license to Battlestar Galactica, and what if they wanted to maybe not keep Starship Battles running, but what if they wanted to just kind of take Battlestar Galactica and import it over into X-Wing? It got me thinking about a lot of different things. And one of those questions that I want to talk about is, how many expansions could they even make for it if they did? And is that a problem? Because there's not that many things they could make for Battlestar Galactica, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but I don't know if that's even that much of a problem if there's limited expansions that they could make, because does a game, and this is really a question for you guys, by the way, there's a new round of the giveaway going right now. There's still time left to enter. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos, and that'll enter you to win a $25 Amazon gift card. And one of the things I would love to talk about with you guys today is just how many expansions do you think a miniatures game needs to have in order for it to be worthwhile, I think is really the question. A lot of people will say a game is dead when they stop announcing new content for it, but it doesn't mean that you can't just continue to play with the stuff you've already got. And I know it's a little different when it comes to board games versus minis games, but how many, I guess it's the Armada player in me that is used to going an entire year or more without new ships for a faction or without anything new. So I've become very used to being able to say, you know what, I'm okay with just being able to play once in a while, and I'm not going to play probably as much as if I'm getting a steady new stuff all the time. But I know there's some people that play games like the old Decipher games. The old Decipher Star Trek game has a continuing committee that has been going on for something like 20 years, more than 20 years maybe, and they still meet and play. And here in Orlando, they still meet and play from time to time. And that's awesome. Good for them. Destiny is doing the same thing right now, where they're making community-created content. How many of you guys remember Star Wars Destiny? And let me ask you this, because Destiny, I think, is a good segue into my next point. What if they were to stop making stuff for a game, yet they kept the game system alive? What if Destiny came back with another IP, like maybe Jurassic Park or something like that? I'm just kind of picking one at random. Or Battlestar Galactica. You have Battlestar Galactica Destiny or whatever. And they came back with this and used the same system, or at least a compatible system. Maybe some of the symbols kind of change, but they mean the same thing as something else, to where you could actually integrate them if you wanted to. It doesn't necessarily mean that tournaments have to include both or whatever, but what if they made Battlestar Galactica Destiny, or Jurassic Park Destiny, or, Twilight Imperium Destiny? Do you like the game system enough that would be worthwhile? And the reason I say that is because they could do the same thing potentially with Battlestar Galactica coming into X-Wing. Now, the game X-Wing is pretty much, doesn't have a name that transitions over and other things because it's X-Wing miniatures game, but it does use the flight path system. So what if they kind of rebranded a new game called it Battlestar Galactica Flight Path Battles, or the Flight Path system, or something like that, or Battlestar Galactica Wing, or BSG wing or something like that. I don't know what exactly they would call it. Let me know if you have a good name for a flight path system that uses the Battlestar Galactica license. Of course, it's just speculating. I don't know that Asmodee's even considering it. Actually, from what I'm understanding, there's a new Battlestar Galactica show that's in the works, and by the time that comes around, they're expecting people to now go kind of crazy for the new license. And I'm really anxious to see that because I loved the Battlestar Galactica show, at least the reboot. I did not watch the original, but yeah. So I'm really curious if they were to get this. I think you could do a lot for X-wing. So I know it's like just talking about it. Like I think the biggest problem you might run into is like the Cylons don't have that many ships, right? You've got these Cylon Raiders over here, and you just don't have that much stuff. Also, before I get into the different types of Raiders, have you guys ever heard of Unmatched? It's another type of system that has lots of different stuff, but they don't necessarily keep making expansions for the same IP. They just keep adding new stuff into the Unmatched system. So, like, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. They could do with like the flight path system for Battlestar Galactica. I've done quite a few Unmatched unboxings, and a lot of it's based on mythological characters, historical characters, heroes of legend, and things like that. But they also work with Mondo Games, Restoration Games work with Mondo Games to get the licensing of a lot of different licenses. For example, they have Jurassic Park stuff in Unmatched, and they're getting Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Well, actually, that just recently came out. Also, Marvel is working with Unmatched, and it's just a cool, fun kind of, board game, kind of skirmish, battle royale, last man standing kind of game. That you can just take anybody versus anybody based on the original Star Wars epic duels. It kind of uses a lot of that rule set and that kind of format. That's the feel for a game like Unmatched. But it's expandable, but not within the same IP. And I think that's just a really, really cool thing, because if they were to stop making it today, there's still plenty of stuff out there, still fun to play, but as long as they're making more things in like a different, like, hey, there's Unmatched Buffy. Well, I don't know if they're going to do any more Unmatched Buffy, but they might, but they're going to do more Unmatched, there's more Unmatched Marvel that's going to be coming out. Maybe they'll do Unmatched Star Wars someday. It's really cool to be able to have that stuff that you can play, like say maybe we want to just play Buffy versus Buffy characters. You pick a Buffy character, I'll pick a Buffy character, but maybe you want to do Buffy versus Velociraptors, or something like that. You can totally do that, and you figure it out ahead of time. And I think the same thing goes for something like Battlestar Galactica coming to X-wing. You could totally do like, hey, we're just gonna play Battlestar Galactica game, but hey, you know what? Hey, I want to cross universes. Let's have some fun and try and do this. I certainly love to be able to do that. And you could even have tournaments that are just Battlestar Galactica flight path system game, or all flight path system games, right? You could have a fun. It could be like fun for those narrative events and stuff like that. I think there's different strokes for different folks with that. But I mean, there is other Cylon ships, because I wanted to talk about some of the different ships that they could do. And we saw a lot of them already in the Ares game. The Heavy Raider, and also the original Cylon Raider. This is like from the classic show. So you've got a couple of Cylon ships. You also have Scar, the grizzled one with the big scar across him. And you could do repainted versions of some of these ships, but I think the humans have the better stuff with the Vipers, and then the Raptors. You got the Raptors, and you got a lot of the different Vipers, the Mark 7 here. But like I'm kind of already exhausted a lot of the different ship options. There's a few more, but there's not like, you're not going to have 14 waves of different ships in Battlestar Galactica. It's just you're not, unless you're just doing repaints as waves. Well, this is a one with a blue stripe, or something like that. And I think that was one of the things that maybe Ares kind of struggled with during their development of Starship Battles, is there's only so many that you can really do before you kind of run out. So I'm really curious what you guys think of, the future of both, hey, Battlestar Galactica coming to Asmodee, possibly, and of course, if that ever does happen, I'll be all over it. That sounds like really fun. Or other different IPs, because there's plenty of other things that could potentially interface with X-Wing. You could take the Firefly universe, for example. Wouldn't you like to see the Millennium Falcon go up against the Serenity or something like that? Or even Marvel. you're starting to get a lot more with Guardians of the Galaxy. They kind of open the doors for the possibility of stuff like that. I don't know if they'll really do that. I don't know if there's enough yet, but I think the future is definitely open for more spacecraft in the Marvel universe. Which kind of brings me to some of the future stuff that I'm going to be doing too, because thinking about these crossovers and getting more IPs and using this, the same systems, Atomic Mass Games has already talked about since they're taking over. They're open to doing new games, and I wonder if from a business perspective, is it worth reinventing the wheel when you've got certain game systems that are already established and working? Like you've got this flight path system for X-Wing, but it's kind of the only game you have that runs it. Now, I know that they licensed it out to Attack Wing and stuff like that, but why not? If you can get the licenses for other stuff, why not make another flight path game? And you can tweak some things. You can make some factions have very different flavors than are thematically appropriate. You could even, they could even use their, some of Asmodee's own IPs and stuff. They could use the Twilight Imperium IP and come up with a Twilight Imperium flight path game. Now I know some X-Wing players will probably be like, well, that would take development time away from X-Wing or something like that, and I think that is something to consider. But if they're already dead set on doing something like that, why not have something that is compatible, that you could say, hey, well, let's fly, the Empire versus, the Jolnar or from Twilight Imperium or something like that. And I think that's a cool idea. So I'm going to be talking about the possibility in the future of similar types of crossovers with other game systems. So be on the lookout for that. But I would love to hear what you guys think. I think Battlestar Galactica is a fun one to possibly mix up with X-Wing. Of course, and there's always homebrew. There's always people who will make homebrew cards for BSG. I think it's already been done. I think it's been done quite a bit. All right, guys, that's all I've got for today. Make sure you check the video description for lots of cool links, such as Luxury Playstyle or my Discord. You can hop on Discord, talk about some of your ideas in there. You can check out Crabbok.com, check out the merch store, and all that other stuff, as well as Patreon. I want to thank my patrons. You guys are absolutely awesome. I could not do this without your continued support, so thank you so much. And as always, have a great day.